I am tired as hell, but we are getting this done today. All right, now this is a new $885 INA water pump. I don't actually want to install that because it's pretty expensive. What we're gonna try and do is take the water pump that I've just put in there out, try and extract the bolts, and if we can, I've got some new bolts that we can put in that, and that will save me $885. So we're gonna try and salvage this one, but if I just can't get the bolts out, then that one is going in here. It's all getting put together and we're done. All right, we're gonna start by undoing the torque screws that hold the water pump in. Previously, we put in a $150 water pump that had Allen screws in them instead of the torque screws that came on the original one. When I tried to take the bolt out to put the belt cover back on, I accidentally sheared the bolts. So we're gonna take that one out and try and take the bolts out of that. But if we can't, we've got a brand new water pump to put in that is of the right quality. Okay, cool, out. Out again. And you can see just here and here where I sheared the bolts. This is my plan to get the bolts off. I feel like that turned a little. But I'm not sure. All right. Put this one on. If this looks the same, I'm gonna be mad because this was so much more expensive than the other one. It's not funny. I mean, it just looks exactly like the other one, just with the proper bolts. Anyway, let's take the two screws out first. All right, let's put this back in. One difference between the two pumps, the cheap $100 one came with it's very plastic, whatever this cover is. The $800 one is very, very much rubber. I don't know, that gives me a little bit of confidence that that is a better quality pump. Anyway, I'm excited there's a pump in there now. As you can see, I've done the smart thing here and prematurely I've taken out the bolt there and down there to put the belt cover over. That was the bolt I'd sheared last time, which was really frustrating. So I'm gonna go ahead, plug the electrical connector back in, put the cover on, put the hoses on, tighten everything back up. Let's tighten these down in a star pattern. Wish I got a torque wrench for this, but hey. This is what I'm using, by the way. I'm putting it in and then turning that. Ugga dugged. Officially ugga and dugged. Now I'm just plugging back in all of the coolant hoses. So now we got the bottom, middle, and the top hoses all connected to the water pump. Now we're gonna put the throttle body back on here and start putting back together a lot of the loose ends. I'm gonna plug back in a lot of these cables that were sitting around. So that's the connector for the throttle body. This here that holds the connectors together just screws into there, and then both the connectors fit back in. We got this bracket screwed back in up here. We've got 1, 2, and 3 connectors all plugged back in. Now we're gonna pop the throttle body back on and plug it in. Just popping the throttle body back in. Throttle body is back in and officially clipped up. All right, you saw a lot of this last time, so I'm gonna jack up the car and time-lapse putting the charge pipe back in from the bottom up, and then connecting all the hoses on the top. Literally just putting it back together. What?
Nothing. Okay.
All right, we've got the boost hose back on and tightened up. We've got this coolant line back in that's connected to the expansion tank. I still need to put this clamp here and this one here to make sure nothing comes loose. Underneath, this is our charge pipe. We've plugged that back in there, put the bolt back in that bracket there, and tightened up the charge pipe from here. And now we're ready to put the fan assembly back in. We're on the home stretch now. It's time to put the fan assembly back in. We've got the fan assembly back in, and we've got sitting on the clips, plugging the harness back in and putting the safety pin in. I reckon that was sitting down there. Yeah, it was. Now all I gotta do is put the airbox back in, connect my airflow sensor back in, and the air intake, put the under tray back on, and then we're done. Let's get about half this bitch in there. Filled up the coolant as much as we can, so we're going to start the car up, let the thermostat open. Oh no. Well, to be continued. We're looking at the water pump just there, and that silver bit just there is the inlet for the oil cooler. That black part there is the bung that connects to this water pump. If you can just see where the water pump meets that oil cooler, you might be able to see something just there. So the bung sits between the water pump and the cooler just there. But the annoying thing about it is I still have to take the belt cover off, pull the water pump off, because that's the piece that goes in first. Which might have also been why it was so hard to push it over and line it up with everything in the first place. Here was what the bung looked like that came out of the $150 pump. And you can see here that it's been squished between the oil cooler and the bung itself. You can see here that on the left, the $150 one, the O-rings are slightly bigger, and I think that's why I couldn't get it in properly. The audio cut out here, but pretty much what I was saying is I don't want to show you that whole process again. I'm going to take it out, replace the bung, and put it all back together. We're finally done. I've just filled up the coolant. I'm going to start the car, see if there's any leaks, let the air all bleed out and top up the coolant and lower the car down, and then we're done. Filled up the coolant, and luckily we don't have any leaks. The new bung fit like a glove. Took a little while for the heater to get working, but we are finally done. I'm glad to put this behind me. If you like this content, please like, and next week we will be sending the S3 to get its chassis rail repaired. So if you want to see that, make sure you're subscribed.